What's up everybody, I'm Mad.Ak.Max and welcome to my channel. Time for another little Let's Craft. Today I will show you guys how to turn real Bakelite and Plum AK magazines into AEG Airsoft mags. Before we dive right into it, something very important. If you are from Europe like me, keep in mind that in most countries in Europe 30 round magazines or magazines for rifles with a capacity above 20 are banned and forbidden, and you can get actually into legal trouble for them. So please make sure if you can get your hands on some AK magazines that the feeding lips are cut off or ground off. Further, only import the magazine shells with the cut off feeding lips and no follower or spring, because all these parts can also get you into trouble. So for my fellow Americans, be sure that we're not going to destroy any functional AK magazines. They are already unusable for real firearms. So with that being out of the way, you know what I really hate about all these video tutorials out there? There's too much talking. Yeah, that really grinds my gears. So anyway, here is the list of my 5 favorite animals. Number 5, the Malayan stink butcher. Number 4, your mom. Alrighty, let's crack into it. This is one of the Bakelite mag shells we are going to use. As you can see, the feeding lips are already cut off. Especially while working with Bakelite, which is not actual Bakelite but phenolic resin binder with fiberglass bedding, it is mandatory to use a respirator. There are horror stories about the fibers being asbestos, but it's fiberglass. You will see me use my power tools for this job, but you can use files, rasps and hand saws as well. I had to convert about 10 mags, so I went the easy route. I begin by applying alcohol-based marking ink. Also a little heads up, because of the number of mags, I didn't really care about extreme precision. Now I adjust my caliper to 40 mm and use the little stab right here in the magazine as a guide to mark a straight line into the ink. After that, I changed the caliper to 41 mm and use this slot right here as guide to make a mark in the vertical. By the way, the hissing in the background is a leak in the compressor line. As mentioned, I'll use my power tools. I am very familiar working with angle grinders and belt sanders, so for others I would recommend a metal handsaw. Another reason for the angle grinder is, well, as you can tell by the sparks, the magazines have metal liners. So you pretty much just make a straight cut until your vertical mark and then cut along the vertical mark as well. Now I cut off a bit above the notch as well. Just make sure you have about 3 mm till your horizontal 40 mm cut you did earlier. You see later why this is important. After that it should look like this. Not pretty yet, but that's okay. I use the belt sander to clean and straighten my cuts and close in on our marks. Always make sure that you are parallel to your step. Now I clean up the cut at the notch and try to get it closer to like 2.5 mm and also round it off towards the notch. For cleaning up the vertical cut, I use a Dremel tool. I use it also to deburr the inside. Next step is to remove these little ribs on each side. At least for fitting this mag into a Suma, this is mandatory. And yes, I use a Suma as test weapon, because if a mag fits a Suma, it fits most certainly in other platforms as well. After that, I go back to the belt sander and remove material above the metal stopper. This is important because if you have trouble getting the magazine locked into your gun, it is most certainly too much material at this spot. And these are the Airsoft mags we are going to use. Those are Mad.Ak.Max magazines. I know that G&P mag works also fine, if not even better. If you know about other fitting mags, please let me and the others in the comments know as well. To get the inlay out, you just simply push this little pin out from right to the left and push the magazine floor catch. The Mad.Ak.Max magazines are actually a tiny bit too wide on the front side, so I use a Dremel tool to remove about 0.5 mm on each side. You can use sandpaper as well, just make sure to not overdo it, otherwise you could damage the BB channel. G&P magazines usually don't need that treatment, and I noticed that Bakelite mags are tighter at this spot rather than the Plum or Classic Black mags. Now I use a little bit of oil because even now it takes some force to fit the inlay into the shell. Time for a quick test fit and to see if the mag release engages. Even if it's slightly notchy right now, we will smooth that part later. So now I want to polish the mags and give them their shine and glory back. For that, a polishing wheel is mandatory. This part is also slightly tricky. Don't use too much force, a wheel that is not soft enough, or too much speed. Otherwise you create within seconds so much heat that the surface melts and it's very hard to fix that damage. The yellow wheel is a rough polish and the white is for fine and finishing work. After that, I went the extra mile and used an extremely fancy and high-end crystalline polishing wax, which removes remaining polishing paste and creates a closed surface against fingerprints and dirt. Now we will smoothen the part that engages with the magazine release. For that I use a file with a gritty surface. Those are for soft materials. A classic file like this one is for metal. Further, I use a little bit of silicone oil for lubing. If you have feeding problems, first try to file down and remove this little ring around the BB channel. These few tenths of a millimeter can actually make the difference. And we're done. Alrighty, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me further, you can do so, of course, over on Patreon. I upload a lot of cool stuff over there, especially if you're into 3D printing. I always create new hobby-related 3D models, and you can get the STL files there. I will give my Patreons also a contact where you can get Bakelite magazines in Europe for actually quite cheap. So I have nothing else. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time. Are you still here?